Hey there, Brad Casser from GreatOptionTradingStrategies.com. Today I want to give another update on my OSCR Kingpin campaign because there's been some fireworks, but I'm really loving this approach and feel like the campaign here is now fully airborne. This really is a powerful approach to financially engineering a long stock position and having Mr. Market pay for most, if not all of it. Now, I have a couple of previous videos on this, and I've added a link to the Option Trading Kingpin Strategy playlist to make them easier for you to find. The first video is where I laid out the key steps of the strategy, showed how I was employing it on OSCR Healthcare, and also some of the trade-offs, drawbacks, and potential limitations of the strategy. So definitely be sure to check that one out. The second video provided an update on the OSCR campaign as I, at that point, had acquired, on the cheap of course, 25% of the total number of shares I'm targeting. So the super quick version is that I'm using options to financially engineer a long-term 1,000 share stock position in OSCR Healthcare that will, ideally, cost me little to nothing at the end of the day. Now, how is that remotely possible? Again, I refer to the original Option Trading Kingpin Strategy video as I go into full detail there. But basically, I'm selling a larger number of puts against the stock and an occasional small covered call position, and that will gradually grow over time, and using the net premium collected to heavily subsidize individual share purchases on the open market. I also just put together a 4-page Option Trading Kingpin Strategy quick reference guide that lays out the 6-step process I'm using, shows the updated OSCR numbers and results, and again, addresses some of the trade-offs and limitations of the strategy. Definitely worth checking out and seeing if this is something you might want to employ on your own favorite stocks. There's a link in the description section as well as in the pinned comment below. And if you do have any of your own favorite stocks that you'd like to acquire and have Mr. Market largely pay for them, and want to know if they'd make good candidates for the Kingpin strategy, just let me know in the comments and I'll take a look and let you know what I think. Also, while you're in the description section, you might want to check out all the other free resources I put together. It's a lot, and these are not resources you're going to see anywhere else. Now, regarding the Kingpin strategy, it works best with growth stocks that you really believe in and where the stock's options have higher implied volatility levels, because that's the fuel that's going to allow you to acquire free or heavily subsidized shares. And the more fuel, the faster this process works. And then later, once the position is fully built out, those higher implied volatility levels are going to translate into converting the position into a freaking massive income machine. So let's pick up where we left off after the last update video. Again, check out the Option Trading Kingpin Strategy playlist linked in the description, and be sure to download the Kingpin Strategy Quick Reference Guide. At the time of the last update in October 2025, and this is early December 2025, I had acquired 250 shares of OSCR, or 25% of my ultimate goal of 1,000 shares, with a non-adjusted cost basis of about $17.46 a share. In other words, on the open market, I paid $4,366.65 for 250 shares of the stock. But when you back out my accumulated net premium collected up to that point, which was $2,659.56, my net cost for those 250 shares dropped to $1,707.09, or just $6.83 a share on an adjusted cost basis. Another way of viewing all this is that I financially engineered a 60.91% discount or rebate to my open market purchases. But of course, I still had a lot of open short option contracts, 10 short puts and a single covered call. I also noted in my last update that I benefited from the very high implied volatility levels of OSCR option premiums, while its stock itself had been pretty well behaved. But that was unlikely to continue forever. For instance, an earnings release was then on the horizon, and I said that perhaps some good old-fashioned chaos might be on the way. Well, that turned out to be the case, but it was less about the earnings release and more about the government shutdown and the future of the Affordable Care Act subsidies and whether they were going to be eliminated or extended. Now you can see the carnage in this chart here as the stock fell from its October highs near $24 a share all the way down to around $13 a share near the end of November as the continued ACA subsidies were mourned out. That's more than a third of its value wiped out in about 6 weeks. But there's been a partial rebound since then on rumors and reports that those subsidies might be extended for a couple more years. Also, I should point out that this video is not about the merits of OSCR as a long-term investment. It's just to demo the Kingpin strategy. And the fact that there is volatility in the shares is a bonus because you want to see how the strategy handles volatility and challenging situations. So what kind of progress has happened since the last update? First, let me say that I'm mostly trading or selling and rolling my short options on a monthly basis, but not entirely. OSCR options also trade weeklies, and I am incorporating some of those when it makes sense. But since the last update in early October, I've basically done a couple more rounds or months of selling and rolling. I think I noted in my last update that my pace of stock acquisition would likely slow from the initial 100 shares per month I was buying, both as a way to keep my adjusted cost basis lower. Ideally or eventually I want it to be all the way down to zero. And because the overall net premium I'm going to be able to generate will likely trail off some, as some of that net premium will need to be diverted to adjust and repair portions of the trade, i.e. the short puts or the covered calls that trade in the money. So I only added 50 more shares since the last update, but I did get those at a really good price at just $14.43 a share. And my adjusted cost basis on the entire 300 share position is now all the way down to $5.06 a share. At the time I'm putting this video together, OSCR is trading in the $16 to $17 share range. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see these spreadsheets, but if you want to see them more closely and fully, I have added them to the Kingpin reference guide. But here are the other highlights since the last update. I've been gradually selling and rolling my 10 short put position higher from the $15 strike to the $17 strike since initiating this campaign back in August. So when the stock really sold off during the government shutdown in November, those puts traded deeper in the money, which definitely cut back the amount of net premium that was available for future rolls. I also wanted to focus on repairs over maximizing net premium. So on my last roll and adjustment, I rolled 9 of my $17 short puts straight out and used some of the proceeds there to work one of the short puts down and out to the $15 strike. With that contract expiring at the end of this week, December 5th, 2025, and OSCR currently trading a little under $17 a share, I'm hoping that it expires worthless. In the event that that single $15 short put does expire worthless this week, I decided to allow that one to simply go away and reduce the number of short put contracts I'm working with to 9. That's actually been the plan. As I acquire more shares, I want to reduce the total number of short puts I'm selling as a way to reduce some of the risk. I'll also be in a better position to begin transitioning toward more covered calls. With 300 shares now, I'm very comfortable always having a single covered call out and about. So between that and the 9 remaining short puts, I've still got a 10 contract position to continue generating a healthy ongoing stream of net premium. I also currently have a single $20 covered call scheduled to expire in about 2.5 weeks, and I plan to continue keeping at least one covered call going full time from now on. Finally, regarding the mix of short puts and covered calls, my thinking at this point is to have as my end game, once I've built out the full 1,000 share position, to basically have an ongoing option selling operation of 5 covered calls and 5 short puts. I think that would be a good mix. I definitely want to take advantage of the opportunities for covered call income, but I also don't want any of these shares to be called away. So by only selling half the number of covered calls available to me and also having the additional short put income, that's going to give me plenty of upside flexibility and protection. That also works the other way if and when there are pullbacks in the stock. The covered calls can help work those short puts lower. And I still retain the ability to expand the number of short option contracts on both sides. And finally, I also really love the idea of more or less always having a baseline of around 10 short option contracts going. First as part of the stock acquisition process, and then later as part of the income generation operations. And again, I obviously started out with all 10 of those contracts being short puts, but as a stock position gets built out, that will gradually even out to a 50-50 ratio between short puts and covered calls. Okay, stay tuned as I continue documenting the campaign and posting regular updates here. I'm also doing this on another stock, and it's going pretty well too, but I'm not sure I'm going to put together a video on that campaign. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to. If you have any questions about anything, or if you'd like me to clarify anything, fire away. And again, if you have any stocks you're thinking about and wondering if they'd make good candidates for the Kingpin strategy, let me know in the comments and I can let you know what I think the pros and cons would be. Also, be sure to download the Kingpin reference guide and definitely check out the original Kingpin video because it goes into a lot of detail. Again, the link to the playlist is in the description. And if you enjoyed this and want more, be sure you're subscribed and check out the channel's other videos. I'm actively adding new content and have a backlog of video ideas I want to share with you. I'm also organizing these videos into various playlist categories, so that should make it easier for you to find the resources that are the most valuable to you. Finally, I've got a lot of other quality option trading resources on the Great Option Trading Strategies downloadable library page, as well as a daily newsletter. All that's in the description section. Heads we win, Tails Mr. Market loses. There are so many people, especially newer traders, who approach options like they're playing the lottery. But the true life-changing power of option trading is when you learn to structure and manage your trades so that you pretty much come out ahead no matter what. Okay, until next time.